So honey for dogs, what do I say? So there's a couple of good uses for honey, I think. First is for wounds and for infections. I love honey for infections and for wounds, I should say, in particular. I live in the part of the world where Manuka honey comes from, and you may have heard that Manuka honey is potentially a little bit better for healing of wounds and elimination of skin infections. I think you're not going to slather your dog in honey when they've got a generalized infection, but if it's a very focal area, or if they've got a little bit of a cut, a little bit of an abrasion, then applying honey can be very, very beneficial. So honey works by effectively drawing all of the water out of the kind of the bacterial cells and causing them to pop, if you like. Now, Manuka honey has got something called Manuka factor in, which is thought to be very similar to a growth factor, which is something that encourages healing to be a little bit more rapid. So I think honey, yeah, I love honey from that point of view. Now, honey, there's a thought with honey that if it's from your local area, then it contains all of the, or a lot of the pollens and things that where the bees obviously go and feed from. It contains all of those in that honey. Now, it's important here that it's raw and unpasteurized, because if not, then that can destroy some of these things, and that can act as almost like a low level immunization for ourselves. And I certainly know it's something that is thought to be useful in helping with human allergies. Does it work? To be honest, I'm not sure. I don't think there's any harm in giving it, and it's certainly not going to do any harm. If anything, it's only going to be of benefit. So I think giving local, but it's important here that it's not just off the store-bought honey. It needs to be local honey to you. So finding a good local apiary, maybe a bee enthusiast, your local beekeeper organization or something like that, they may be able to provide you with a source of that. So I think there's definitely potentially some benefits in that, but I wouldn't like to, I guess, say how big that benefit is when it comes to dealing with superficial infections. And we've spoken about how common they are if we're dealing with very focal infections. But if in a first aid situation as well, if you've got, it's nothing to do with allergies, but if you've got, our dogs, they sniff around, if they have a graze, if they get a little bit of a skin infection, then much like I was saying at the very beginning, we want to be avoiding antibiotic use if possible. Using honey is a great method.